Hey, Gail. I am just about. Just about. I want to get rid of that. There we go. If I can get everything working at the same time. And with that. Ah, there we go. Alright, how is my sound today, Missy? Still have some work to do. Good. Hey, Ian. I found the filters. Hey, Kimberly. Yeah, it is pretty, isn't it? I think we've got it. Not so sure the focus. Is there. Still have a have a pretty good lag. Now I'm going to take my earphones out because it's disturbing to hear yourself 20 seconds after you say stuff. I'm just going to do a little playing with this. Right there would be good. Right there. If CB comes, you can see most of the palette. Joie de vie. On my painting, yeah. Autofocus is off. Ian, I did not find focus on the filters. Y'all forgive us for a minute. We're fine tuning this. I did not find. I found scale. I found crop and sharpen, and those are. I did not find a focus unless it's under something render delay. Wonder if that'll help. Delay is set on 0. Scaling, scroll, sharpen. That's all I've got. So I do not have a focus. Now sharpen a little bit more, but that will typically give it a little pixelation. Why is that, Ian? Because my YouTube is on my iPad, which isn't connected to anything. Okay. Now I'm talking about this rose. The display capture is the photo over here. My iPad source is off and my desktop cam is off. It's in the capture videos. Looks fuzzy. It's in the capture video setting. Okay. Compressor, expander, gain, invert, limiter, noise gate, noise suppression, video delay. Image mask, blend, scaling, scroll, sharpen, cancel. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and paint just a little bit and we'll see. I would like to have a little bit of height. That's not such a good thing. So I can see it just a little better. Appreciate everybody hanging in with me on all this. It's what it takes. It takes a village to get some of this stuff working. And you have to be a certain kind of a noob to want to dig around in the vagaries of free software, open source software. Because the guys that write it are engineers, they're not designers. And this software has absolutely no designer touch at all, which is fine. What I hate is when engineers try to do the design work. Oh my God, what a mess they can make. Totally counterintuitive, because they think different. They're wired different. These M-gram tube lids are so difficult to get on. There's that. I've got plenty of the purples. That was that dried out white. Black I don't use. Very rarely. Carmine. Okay, Ian, I appreciate you. Ian has been a big help on this last little hurdle of being able to quinacridone red. Oops. Good thing I had another towel here. I must have pulled mine off last night and didn't put it where it needs to be. Okay. Okay. This, I know some of you have seen this, but this was one of the first gouache paintings I did. Now, I'm not using a technique of thin. I don't think so. This is my custom keeper from Shannon Green. This one. I so enjoyed working on this because the gouache, let me see if I can get the gouache acted and felt like it does when you work in oil. And I have not been able to capture that since. And that little book is inexpensive paper. So, I've been trying to capture that. Let's see, what else? Okay, I put that in. I did finally come to my senses when I did this one. It needed some warmer red in my mixtures. So this I consider to be just a block-in. A little bit more than a block-in. Because I don't really think it looks anything like a flower at this point. It could be, oh, I don't know, pinks or, you know, those little tiny flowers. It does not do Janet's flower justice. So I will get back to that perhaps on my own time. You never know. Because I know you get bored seeing me paint, so. I love these clips from Dollar Tree. They're by the cash register. And they're $1 for about 8. I buy a couple packages every time I go. Because you know how fast these little boogers get lost. Okay. About right there is my sweet spot. Okay. I wish I had a better light on mine. I'm going to have to work on that. This is a little ring light. That needs to be plugged in. And I don't have a plug-in for it, so I'm just going to have to suffer. Y'all are getting good light. I need a little more of this, that, and the other. I did squeeze out some new paint today. because I really don't like dried paint. My brush strokes are following the shape of the petal. And I do like, oops, it's a little thick spot right there. I do like, spit it out, texture, like dry brush texture. And a lot of little flick marks. Roses do have a definite texture pattern in some of their leaves. Okay, so that goes up, and then here. I'm just going to paint all of this with a little base coat. And I've got something there that wasn't supposed to be there. Let's see if I can, well, I mean, and Ian and I talked last night by phone. Ian, I'm sorry, I do have well, Randy laughs at me. I have an issue with hearing instructions, and I have trouble with accents too, which is funny because I got one. But he came up with something that's even a little more interesting that I can't wait to play with, but one challenge at a time. And remember, I'm drawing my brush off every time. I got a little too much. I don't want my brush wet. I just want it to be damp. And that is for this technique. Don't everybody get their panties in a wad. You can do it any way you want to, and if you want to paint like watercolor with it thin, that's great too. But this is what I'm doing right now as a technique. Okay, I'm following this drawing. Roses are my nemesis. But I'm doing better on this one without having a drawing to begin with. And then we've got a white that runs down the middle. Now, we will get the curve. Hi, Jules. We'll get the curve when I add the different color and the value. And I don't need my readers on for this. I think I'll put my glasses on. It's funny that one works for one thing and doesn't for another. Put a little bit of that warm. Let's go ahead and get that white in there. Painting is something that you never conquer. And the old masters were the same. There's always another technique, there's always another brush. Or in their case, there was always a new color. They didn't have that many when they started. And that is the reason that painting keeps me really interested. Now we'll let that dry and I can soften it later. Is CB in the house? Now this is where the technique becomes a little more like oil, because I can blend those two by just lightly activating the color underneath it into that lighter color, so it's kind of a fake out. And the other thing that I always say is, doesn't matter what your color is, as long as your value is correct. And that's the light dark of your color. And don't get me wrong, I love my oils. I think I've just done one over here at my mixed media table. I'm going to do that for now. I've got my little bit of whitish color right here. I'm just tickled I've got the microphone issue straightened out. And I've got a little bit darker right here that makes that part of the petal look like it's folding outward. Got a little bit of that purpley color coming in right here. Now I'm not liking this brush, which means it probably needs to be washed, which I very rarely ever do. But when they start, now I've got a little bit of white, that's too much, but I want to get it in there. And we've got a big white mark right here on this petal. I want to get it in there so that my colors are blocked in. Yeah, I'm just going to lightly. Well, the doggies are awake. Sarai, Sarai. Now I need to go back up into this area. You see chat's moving. Hey, Dr. D. Randy saw the other day a 5-pound toy miniature schnauzer. Our little girl is 11 pounds now, and this little 5-pound one was about half that size. Uh-oh. I just looked at my screen and saw that I had inadvertently moved my this, that, and the other. That's not too bad. Yeah, it's hard anymore with as many live streams as there are, so I appreciate any time that y'all spend with me. And I have a lot of lurkers in the more in the art field. They don't seem to want to chat too much. Heck with the chores. I gotta get my bearings up here. And I'm gonna get back into my intuitive journaling too. Of course, I did do the moon journal, so that was kind of in that realm. And you got to resist the temptation to get your gouache on too thick. It's kind of like Goldilocks. It's got to be just right. Because if it's too thick, it will crack. Or can crack. Which is probably more like being on a canvas than... It would be a bigger problem on a canvas, what I'm trying to say. I decided to do a live stream.
Okay, did you have AT&T come?
No. Where am I? Okay, right here. See, I'm telling you that roses are my nemesis. And if I could lose the realistic urge that I have, there's that. And then there's another one right here. comes down. Nope. Nope, nope. That one comes down. And this one just kind of sits behind it. The good thing about roses and flowers is that nobody looks at your source when they look at your finished painting. I'm drying my brush off every time I dampen it. There's no right or wrong here, y'all remember that. This is just the technique that I'm using right now. I don't want the warm red. A little blue in it. Perhaps not that much. And I want that to go right here. And I need, let's see, that one. I'll go right in here. And then that curls around. Ticky, 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 tacky. This one has kind of a little white. I'm really just kind of drawing myself road maps here. So if they are a little bit exaggerated, at least I can find my place. And then we've got a white, very white spot. That'll be a good landmark. Did something different on this. This is the background I did the other day with the Distress ink. I didn't cover the Distress this time. I just painted right on top of it. Now I'll get this to a certain point, and if it looks good enough for me, it's good enough. Because we are painting, and that's in the wrong place. That needs to be more up here. There. I'm getting there. think. These are just minor little changes. I call, well, when I'm not talking, I call. The Zen Zone is something that I started quite a long time ago. Because for art to heal your soul, you have, if you've had a trauma like I did, it's okay to give yourself time off from thinking about your trauma. And I felt guilty for the longest time. But the art was a way to, once I started giving myself permission to not think about it, art gave me the tool to do that. And by that I mean I could lose myself in what I was doing. And when I came out of what I call the Zen Zone, it was refreshing. It was like I'd had a good long hard nap, solid nap. So that's why I call it the Zen Zone. And painting does that for me. For some of you, it may be collage. But you do have to reach a certain level of proficiency with painting to be able to do it by eye-hand coordination that you've remembered. If you practice it enough times, then it becomes like automatic writing. It's just there when you call on it. And that is conducive to the feeling that you're not really there, but you are. You're focused on nothing but this. I play music a lot when I'm by myself, and that also helps. Talking to you guys during it is the worst thing for Zen Zone. But I would rather share this with you than I can paint on my own. So anyway, that's the it's not just me, it's art therapists and all kinds of other folks make their career. This out of teaching people how to do it to save their lives. Art therapy in prisons, art therapy with kids who've been abused. So it's more than a pastime. It's more than getting out a box of kids' Crayola and just playing with the colors, not necessarily drawing anything. It actually does something for you. So don't ever let anybody think that you're just wasting your time. I got that yesterday after I had figured out my microphone problem. See, I used to do that sort of stuff for work. And you don't get instant gratification, but it's either right or it's wrong. It's either working or it's not. And so when I finally got that to work, the feeling was really calming. I was relaxed and, kind of proud of myself. And sometimes with painting, you don't get an immediate gratification because there is no right or wrong. So that's something that you can be aware of. Okay, now I've got this petal. Ooh, boy, I got that on there. This petal is coming out toward us right here. Me and this brush are going to part company here in a minute. Okay, just a little coming out. Push and pull. Cover something up and you put it back in. And painting or arting is one of the best hobbies you can pick up, because you can do it until the day you die. You can be sitting in your cozy chair and be painting. And Renoir and Degas used to have to, their arthritis was so bad in their hands that their helpers had to tape the brushes to their hands so they could paint. And they painted well into older age. And there are other things, but I mean, you can. Cooking, maybe not so much, because who's going to eat it? There are lots of pastimes. Sewing. But this is one of the few that you can do comfortably for a long time. Just adding some colors here and there that may not actually be in there. And artists are a great community, even online. And last night when Ian called me, it was like having a friend, you know? Just because we're online friends doesn't mean we're not real friends. So I don't buy that when people say, well, yeah, but you're being a not homophobe. Now I'm putting a little more white on here. Agoraphobic, is that what it is? Because I can go for a week or two without getting out of the house. But I consider you guys among my friends. In fact, I think some of you know me better than my real friends do. So, don't let anybody tell you you're wasting your time, because they don't know what they're talking about. You leaving? Oh, I forgot. Bye. Be careful. Randy's got to go to a meeting, and I got out of going. There, I'm doing some very gentle blending. Okay. It's funny, Gail. Ian and I talked about that last night. The amount of time it takes to film a video and edit it, which you have to do to get it uploaded And then it takes sometimes 3 or 4 hours to upload a video to YouTube from the outside. Where by streaming it like this, you save the edit time, which of course, you know, every video could use some editing. But I would encourage you to get your own painting and paint with me. So I'm not quite sure why why you think me doing a voiceover video would be a big improvement. Because then you get into, okay, well, let's just fast stream this little part. And then there are people who don't like that. So it's hard to please everybody. So I generally just try to please myself. And I've done a whole lot of that kind of video. Too dark. Oh, okay, I got you. Yes, and some of that goes away because I have taught in public. I mean, taught for classes and stuff. And for me, I'm really talking about the zone where I get into it for 3 or 4 hours, which I can do real easy with oil painting. And music plays a big part in that, too. I did a painting of 2 girls who were getting married, friends of the family. And I did a painting of them. Painting turned out gorgeous. They weren't married very long. I filmed the whole painting on that. Anybody wants to sit through 8-10 hours of painting. Sometimes I just enjoy diddling. I wish that I could paint a little more intuitively. Like, Lena's a great example. She just decides to do something and does it. I have to ponder it. But for these 2 girls, one was from Puerto Rico, and they loved that area. So I devised a kind of a supernatural concept. I was really, really proud of the painting. Besides that, it ended up looking just like them. That's always a nice touch. And y'all don't ever have to feel like you've got to watch me full time, especially the mods. I mean, I don't expect torture. It is extremely hard these days to watch everybody that you want to watch. And some of my paid classes I end up watching right before I go to bed because I seem to retain it. And if y'all haven't gotten you any little saucers yet, they are the bee's knees. Now, I made that a little bit darker. I haven't decided if I'm going to put a lot of dark background on this. So I'm just going to hint at a little bit of a darker right on this edge. Because, of course, white on that edge isn't going to show up. A little bit of a bluish red here. I watched Ian paint a real nice mountain scene with a boat last night. Really a bang-up job. In watercolor. And I still consider watercolor one of my weaker mediums. Looks like a huge leaf. Check it over here. The picture I have on my computer screen is exactly the size of my painting, which is where I really like to work. No, it's just about right. Bye, Dr. D. And I'm also, when I'm painting like this, I'm so concerned about you guys being bored that I short shift myself by hurrying up or not really getting into it. What I'm trying to do right now is give that petal some in and outies. And so that would mean that I would have a little bit of light on this side. The thinner I get this white, the less it will cover. And when it dries, it's almost invisible. But it does suit a purpose even at that point. I don't really like that line right there, so It's a little bit better. I think I'm going to switch over and get the stem and the leaf on that. Greens. Oh, I hate greens. I think the reason why is because to really be effective, you don't want to use greens right out of the tube. You always want to alter them a little bit. And you need so many in a landscape. Depending on how the light hits, you just need 30 or 40. You could use that many in a painting. Rose petals have a little stickery part. I now need some dark. Thank goodness I have some on my plate. This is another of Kathy Arbor's photos. And y'all have heard my lecture about using a limited palette and the value of that limited palette. I'm using some of my purple colors to enhance this leaf, or to darken it. And we have a brighter green. Well, how about that for a brighter green? It's not. It's a duller green. I hope y'all learned some color theory from me. My leaf isn't following the design very good, but that's okay too. It doesn't have to. Thank you, Jules. Well, we've all got different things that we enjoy doing. I am just fascinated with gouache, though. No one I ever studied with used it, except to put white back in a watercolor painting that had accidentally gotten covered. And my other memory of it, we had a creative director when we had our company, and he had gone to art school, and he said that was his least favorite assignment he ever had to do, was something in gouache. So that kind of sticks with you. But it's got a magical quality, like I said, that is similar to what oil paint feels like. Because until oil really firmly dries, you can come back in and do this sort of thing as much as you want. Look at that brush. When I first started painting, period. I know y'all don't like to hear Charles Reed's name, but we had everything that he used. And the natural hair brushes, I had no clue how to use them, and neither did Randy. And when they started doing that bendy thing and not coming back, I thought there was something wrong with my brushes. But no, that's just what natural hair brushes do. I'm getting real realistic here. Y'all don't know how hard that is to break. I shouldn't really fight it, I guess. And I need a bluish. A bluish green, and I don't have a Viridian on my out. Let's see if that does it. That works. Works for me. And it's fun to pay attention to this part of that leaf is curling up. Let me see if I can show you. Here I go playing tricks. Right here. No, it's not it. This one. See how the edge of the leaf is curling up and then back down, so you see the underside of the leaf right here, but right in the middle of that underside is a light area where the light is reflecting from the other side. Those are fun things. Not quite that light, but now move him back and reduce him a little bit. And I know that there are some shortcuts and things like that that will make this easier, but right now I am just tickled that it's working. Just a little bit. Now I can come back in there and pull that darker green. Very subtle. Nobody would miss it if it wasn't there. I could bring this leaf on down, but I'm not gonna. If y'all don't have one of the Timmy Holtz distress sprayers, they are really, really good for $4.99. And then you can get your discount. A little yellow. Being online does keep me away from the iPad and the TV. I can catch everything I need to catch news-wise in the evening. Okay, now I need a yellower. I'm going to leave that kind of soft and disappeary. And you know what? That doesn't even look like it's coming out of that rose. It's not. It is in the photo. Hey, God. Okay, easy enough to fix. It should be coming here on my rose. Minor little thing, but so what I can do is paint a little bud. How to fix a goof 101. Doesn't exactly look like a rose bloom, but we're going to work on it some. And a little yellow now. Ouch. I'm not sure I'm painting that from memory very good, but you can kind of tell what it is. And kind of sort of just about done for today. And Gail, I'm glad you do. You need to give me some of your green loving. I'm finishing my lunch. It's a Slim Fast. I don't do it to lose weight. I do it as a meal replacement I can do without quitting what I'm doing. Sometimes eating just takes up too much time. A little bit of purple and a little bit of red. I'm proud of myself that I did this without a drawing. Come on. A little red. Okay, for today, I'm done on that one. Now, the reason is because I'll come back to this tomorrow and look at it. And depending on the mood I'm in, I may think, oh, okay, that needs I want another session on that. But for now, if I didn't come back to it, it would be okay. Working in journals is something that I learned from you guys. Well, I mean, not totally, but just painted in a journal and I put that on the back of something that wasn't half bad. But if I put this in a journal, I can do it, and it's upside down even. Had I planned it, but you know what I'm saying. I can fix this where you can see both sides. Thank you. Now, y'all stick or not, I'm going to see if the mood hits me on this little thing. Because right now is pretty much a disaster. I think some of you know that 3 of my main mentors, tutors, people that I've paid for training have passed in the last couple years. These people helped me for free, and I mean, I paid for their lessons, but at some point they shared knowledge with me that they didn't necessarily teach. Does that make sense? And all I got to say about that is it's time for me to pay it forward. So that's what I'm doing. I need a light. I'm seeing gray. Y'all are seeing pretty good light. Alright, now how are we going to make this little booger look more like what it's supposed to? And the answer is value. It doesn't have enough dark and light contrast. Except for this dark green right here in the middle, it's pretty close to the same mid-value range. So I need to figure out what I want to change to get it what I want it to be. And I'm changing brushes. I'm not going to use that one. I'm not going to use that on. That's a no. Nip, nip, nip. What are you wanting? I don't know what I'm wanting. That one's in the wrong bucket. I'm going to play with the Charles Reed Kolinsky. Now, it's okay in gouache to use your good brushes. However, if you catch me scrubbing, that's the part that hurts. But this is just watercolor pigment and gum arabic, so it will not hurt your brushes. Hey, Jilly, I saw you this morning. If I just inspire one of you, lost my 100% bird's eye natural diaper. Ding. Like Shannon Green does her Daddy Vans. Excuse me. If I just help one of you heal a little bit of whatever your trauma is, we all have it. We all have a pair of moccasins that you wouldn't want to trade with me, and I wouldn't want to trade with you. And that's just the way it is. But I can share some tools on how to deal with it. And the other thing is, if it's a serious issue, you need to go to a therapist. There's nothing wrong with that. I went right after the fire. I'm mixing up a little bit of a reddish purple here. That was for serious counseling. And then I've been going for the last couple of years just because my insurance pays for it. And we're just kind of talking about things that everyday things, nothing serious. I took care of most of the serious stuff 20 years ago. See, where else can I dance that little color? Somebody that last week was saying that they felt so bad they couldn't even paint. I really wanted to get involved, but I didn't. Adding just a little more red. Crack the drawing just a little bit up here. As long as she thinks that she needs to not do anything else but be aware of her issue, then nothing that anyone can say would change that. It's a personal thing. And it took a good 5 years for me to be able to talk about Sarah without losing it. And so that is now why I try to share it with people who don't have the skill set or the, how do you say it, experience. I mean, hell, I'm almost 70 years old. Jesus, God, that's scary. A little bit of a warmer color in there. Part of my reason for living was so that I could share things that worked for me and quit rubbing. Alright, what color do you want, girly girl? And I'm not afraid to face somebody. Not everybody's built that way. So, there you have it. Want some of that peachy, that now that color underneath there just now was pretty ugly, but when I come back over it with the color that makes it pretty, the contrast is kind of nice. It doesn't solve my problem of values though, because those are so close together. And so now let's lighten it a little bit. Right in through here. It's such a pleasure to be able to work with this kind of a brush. They're not a requirement at all. But they sure are nice. And not a requirement. I don't even use them when I'm working with craft paints. And never, 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 ever with acrylics do I use a watercolor brush of any kind. Those are kept separate, or these are kept separate. I've got a little bit of an angle wrong. Uh-oh, I hear a puppy. Now I want to put a little bit of this color right up underneath. Shape is still not quite right. It's coming out about right there. Got a little more variety in it. Hey, Peg. It's my belief system. I'm looking at what Julie and Gail have said. It's my belief system that it's just proportional. Everybody has something. Now, that's not to take away from mine at all, but some person might not get on the junior league board, and that's the worst thing that ever happened to her since she broke a fingernail at homecoming. And it can be just as devastating. Alright, I'm trying to get this little flower to curve. It's curving back. Sometimes I might come in on a painting and just work on one thing for a while. I want you to curve. Curve. I want you to curve. And then there's a little bendy right here. It's a little bit of a hard edge. I know that's too far up, but and then there is a whiter, because this is actually a crook where the leaf kind of bends. So it's a hard edge right there. I hear you. And bring that down. That might work. Let me go let the babies outside. I'll be right back. Now, Premier Pig made a suggestion. Yeah, I'm not sure that I like those premieres. Not saying I don't, but I don't know. My jury's still out on that. I think Ian has used them a time or two. Well, you do too. Yeah, I understand what you're saying, Gail. I appreciate that. But I try not to minimize anybody else's. I want some pinker. I'm gonna have to let that dry just a little. And Peg, if you ever want to set something like that up, I'll be your, what's the saying? Oh shoot. Not I'll be your Valentine, I'll be your Clementine, is that what it is? I'm more than happy to join in. After figuring out this OBS with 4 cameras or 3 cameras, I'm about done with my figuring out phases for a little while. But I can sure play along if somebody else wants to set it up. I'm still not getting that the way I want it. And so I'm going to stop right there on that one. Because it may look better later. Do you? Hi, Tanya. I missed you earlier. Okay. Catching up with everybody. Well, and 2, everything right now is changing, which it does in this world with technology. I've been doing serious technology stuff since 1987, and granted that was before the real internet came on, but I was working actively in it when it did. And it's been the same since then. You get used to something and it changes. And now that we all quit the crutch of, well, it wasn't really a crutch because I didn't do any hangouts, everybody's been forced to find something else. I'm going to let that dry. And all these new options have come up. And like I said, Ian planted a seed. This is just something that I'm going to work on at the same time he does to see if we can do an OBS with multiple cameras and be on Streamline at the same time. I mean StreamYard. I'll get it in a minute. And I think that Ian and I are a lot alike in the fact that if it's there, we want to see if we can do it. But that takes away from painting too. And there were some things I had to give up when I retired. And one of them was being on top of all the technology. You just can't do it all. The software that I used then was $6,000–7,000 a year. Do I really need to keep up with that? That buys an awful lot of art supplies. My brain is wired for computer stuff, math stuff, and art stuff. So there are different quadrants of my brain, which makes it real tough if I get into the software side, like I have been the past week or so, because the painting suffers. It's hard to do both at the same time. It takes me a while to shift. Sometimes it can take a couple of days to make the shift. And when I'm in art side, I'm dumb as a post when it comes to technology. And I say that in all fun. Now, what is happening here is that I'm still not getting that cupping that I want, which has to do with values. Yeah, we had Liam is my grandson's name. So Ian and I had a good conversation over Messenger chat last night. And that's another thing about my brain, Gail. I know you don't really want to know about my brain, but I don't learn by listening, I learn by doing. So I will learn more from Ian watching that video later on. He told me he was going to put one together. Okay, I'm diddling now right there, so I'm going to quit on that spot. Okay, now these are okay. More than likely they could be whiter. I'm a visual eyes seeing it. When you give me directions to do something, I'm looking at how the color is shining on the wall, and I'm not paying a damn bit of attention. Now, do y'all remember what I've told you about if your white isn't light enough, add some yellow, just a little, and it warms it up, because white by itself can be very cool. Yeah, Open Broadcast Software, and it is Open Broadcast Studio. OBS Studio. There's another one, but it doesn't work for... It's just different. That's all I know. And like I said earlier, open source software is great, but it doesn't have any design features like Minicam that some people are using. Now this is not to be confused with StreamYard. What we're after here with Minicam and OBS is the option to show... I didn't get a bit of y'all. Different views. Hang on. Multiple cameras on the same scene, because you can't cram on one camera. You can't cram a close-up of your painting, your palette, and your source photo in the same camera, because then what happens is you don't have any room left to paint. So that is the why of and then Minicam, I swear, is built on the OBS platform, because the software and the coding and everything is free to developers. And then they added pretty design work on top of it, which makes it more user-friendly. But what Ian was talking about last night was the possibility of going to StreamYard from here, which I nearly know is possible. I won't bore you with those details. My plan is to play with this more until it becomes second nature. Okay, come on. I need a shadow color. Well, you and Shell have been doing this a long time. Yeah, if I want that to be... a little more obvious of a shadow. I know it's hard to believe that I can enjoy this kind of diddly, knowing my personality, but I do. Now, cast shadow has a hard edge. And it could be grayed just a little, but I can gray that a little bit with this cad reddish color. It's vermilion, but it's similar. And because orange and... boy, I've really got it going now. I'll let that dry, and then I can come back and blend it a little. And there's another cast shadow. And I need to go let my puppies in. It is fairly complicated, Peg. Hang on, I'll be right back. Put the doggy gate up. It's complicated, but it's not dissimilar to Minicam. The problem with Minicam is, to me, here it is, to get 3 or 4 cameras, I got to pay more money, and OBS is free. Ah. Come on now, I want just a little bit of orangey. Where am I? I want a little bit. A little bit right there. To reflect the light. And I need more right here. And just remember that Hangouts and StreamYard are for different purposes. StreamYard and Hangouts are for multiple people, which is video conferencing, which has been around a long time in the business world, but those are very expensive software programs. And what we artists want is something free. This is hard flour. I wouldn't have tried it if I'd have been thinking. But never fear, I'll get it. Yeah, me too, Peg, but once a few of us have figured this out, like Ian and me, it's much easier than having to dig it out for yourself. Ian's on a PC, so he'd be better for that platform, and I'm on Mac, of course, which would be better for, I will know more about it for Mac users. And once I figured out my microphone problem yesterday, I was in a lot better shape. That little picture is good enough to paint with. I'm going to expand my screen. And if you turn chat off, doggone it, you're pretty good there. Well, mine is sure more purple than the original photo. But again, I've told you why that is. Part of why that is, too, is because you can't duplicate what's coming from an iPad screen or a monitor. Where am I? You can't duplicate that in Paint because you're looking at light that's shining down on something, and from a computer monitor or electronic device, the light's coming from behind it. So it's a totally different color. I better get back down here where I knew where I was. It's easy to get lost. And you know what? In the end, it doesn't really matter unless you're painting at commission. And then people kind of want their little rugrats to look like themselves. I need more pink. What time is it? Okay, I've been on longer than I usually am. I guess that's a good thing. I usually peter out after about an hour, hour and a half. But it works. I can enlarge it. And I know there's a keystroke for that. I just don't know it yet. Pretty cool, huh? So there are nuances here that I haven't done yet, that I will. Well, that palette's messy, isn't it? Pretty. So that's what this can do. I can have as many cameras as I want. And I can crop this or make it any size I want. I haven't figured out the cropping yet, so that would get rid of everything but what I wanted you to see. What else does it do? I think I can put type on it, but basically this is just for the benefit of my viewers, you guys. It's so that you can have a full experience. Now, when I'm doing mixed media, I don't need this. This is just handy for my painting demos. Or I can't imagine why I would need it. And I do want to get back to some of my intuitive journaling this week. I've been missing it. I think I'm going to bow out. Ooh, I missed a lot. Amazon goodies for free. Oh, yeah. Thanks, Gail. Almost free. Well, thank you guys for sticking with me. Hey, Beth, do you like those multi-cameras? I've got to work on the palette one. That's on my iPhone, and for some reason it turned itself vertical. My focus isn't that bad here. It could be better to suit me, but yeah, that conferencing software, GoToWebinar, that's a couple $100 a month. Lots of bells and whistles on that. I will tell you guys that I love this Distress Oxide background to come back in and paint on top of. That just opens up a crossover between craft and, I'm not going to call it fine art because I think it's all fine art. She is so bad. Anyway, it's a kind of it makes a crossover. And I like that. It's one that I never finished. See, isn't that fun? With a Distress Oxide background. And you can't see it? Yeah, you can. There it is. I need to bring that down just a little bit more. Get the whole thing in the picture, maybe. See, isn't that pretty? Bye, Jilly. I'm loving on myself here, so. These are some we made Thursday last week. She's almost good. Look how fresh this is with the lemonade. These are the ones we did Thursday. So I'm going to do that in this whole sketchbook, and then it'll be done. I can put it away. Oh, thank you, Beth. It's every day is a challenge, and that's why I like it. I've seen my big shot mentor tutors tear painting apart, standing on a stage giving a class or a seminar. So it makes you realize that, you know, everything doesn't always turn out like you're pushing a button. Yeah, it's good to get a hug, even if you give it to yourself. All right, I'm going to hush now and stop streaming, and I will see you guys tomorrow at 4, okay? My usual time. This was a test day. Love you, and I'll talk to you